How we going? This video is sponsored by EcoFlow. Now, EcoFlow contacted me because they thought their products might be useful to me in what I do with metalworking and DIY type projects. So I did a bit of research and I think they're right. This Delta Max 2000 will be an awesome workshop improvement for me. Plus, in the case of an emergency or the power grid goes down and we've got a blackout, this will be our emergency power backup. So it's a positive and I feel really good about having it here. So after having a really long chat with EcoFlow as to what I need for what I actually do, this is what we came up with. I've got an EcoFlowDelta Max 2000 portable power station. It's got an NCM high quality lithium ion battery with a capacity of 2016 watt hours and it weighs 22 kilos. And it's expandable. Using these two ports, I can add up to 2 Delta Max Smart Extra batteries. Now they've got the same capacity as this unit, so I'd end up with about 6,000 watt hours of usable power. And when this unit's being charged, the others get charged as well. So it's purely this one lead lets me expand on each battery, which is pretty simple. Now I also have an EcoFlow 220 watt bifacial solar panel. Yes, picks up light from both sides of the panel, front and back. Now the front of the solar panel is rated at 220 watts and the back or the rear of the solar panel is rated at 155 watts. So I'm looking forward to having a bit of a play with this when we get it in the sun. Alright, so what was in the box when I unpackaged the Delta Max 2000? There was the manual. There was a warranty card. Now there's 3 charge leads. This is for the solar panel to the unit. We have a car charge lead, which is to charge the unit from your vehicle. And we have an AC power lead. So that's to charge it from the power points in your house. And we have an output lead. Now this output lead is a DC 5521 to a DC 5525 cable. So we've got that. So that's basically the box. Now let's have a look at the unit. Alright, I'm going to go over the whole screen shortly, but first, when I got this delivered yesterday and I took it out of the package and turned it on, the numbers on it made me think. So I'll just flick it on. Right, so these are the exact same numbers that I had on there yesterday, the 28 and 55. Now the 28 is the amount of charge in the battery, so that this battery is charged to 28%. The 55 is how many hours doing what it's doing until it will be fully discharged, or flat as old people call it, flat battery. Now, the first thing I thought was, am I going to lose between yesterday and now 24 hours off that 55 hours? And I thought, that doesn't sound right. So what's going on? But I turned it off. So when it's turned off, you're not losing power. So when I turned it off yesterday, it was on 55. When I turned it back on again today, it's still on 55. So we didn't lose power overnight. I have no doubt the battery would drift down over time. But it's not this number that you're looking at when you've got the whole thing shut down. Now the thing to remember when I'm going over the whole panel shortly is this battery is only 28% charged. So when we're looking at the discharge time on something, you've got to remember it's a bit deceiving because the battery is less than a third charged. I wanted to go over the panel and everything so I could charge, play with it and not get caught out because the battery gets to 100%. So this is the ideal time to test the solar and all this sort of stuff. I will have power tools plugged in later and I'll have it fully charged, and that's where this number will really come in, because you can see it's a fully charged battery and I could run this angle grinder for 5 hours or whatever, you know, whatever it comes up to. So anyway, now we'll go over the panel. This is the front of the Delta Max 2000. So we've got the LCD screen, we've got the USB panel, and we've got the main power button. Now to turn it on, it's a long hold. It's about 2 seconds. You hold it in, and the same to turn it off. So let's turn it on. Right, so it's on. So you see immediately that it's charged at 28%, and the blue ring represents the 28% charge. And should it be charged more, so if it was charged at 90%, it would be up around this area up here. And you'd see at a glance, even from a distance, how far it's charged, just by a glance at that blue ring without walking up to it. Now the same blue ring is the charging indicator, and that blue ring rotates when you're charging, so you know that it's being charged. Right, this one is our charge or discharge time. So we have nothing going in, nothing going out, and it's telling me in 55 hours this battery will be flat. Now, if we were charging it, we would have this blue ring spinning around, and we would have a time in there that will tell us when it will be fully charged. So I might say it's 3 hours to being fully charged. So we'll get all these running in a sec. Right, so over here, the top one is how much charge is going into the unit in watts. So that's, we're charging it, so we're charging it from a solar panel, the car charger, or from the house power. The bottom one is what's going out in watts. So we've got something plugged in and it's drawing a bit of power. Now there's also warning indicators on this screen. And the ventilation fan indicator will be there for when the fan's running. And you have a Wi-Fi indicator, which will turn on now. So to turn that on, we've got an IoT reset button just here, and we hold him in for a few seconds. And just here we'll get a Wi-Fi indicator. So just there. So using the Wi-Fi output from this unit, I can use EcoFlow's app on my phone, and I can monitor all this stuff on my phone. I can also turn things on and off, adjust the charging rate going into the unit. I can do many things on this app without being near the unit. Now this Wi-Fi comes from the unit, so if I was on a campsite with no internet whatsoever, this is still going to work. Now what we've got is we've got 54 hours till the battery's flat, and that's represented there, 206. I'll get this up on the screen here so you can see this a bit better. On the right hand side here we've got 28%, so that's the charge in your battery, which matches that. This also has the temperature of the unit. Now we've got our input, which is the top one there. Well, that's our input, and we've got our output there. Right, I've got a work light just there, so let's plug that in. When I turn that on, right, so the light's on, and we're dragging 40 watts, 39 watts from the unit, which you can see on the phone. Right, and if we drag that 39 watts, our battery would be flat in 8 hours. Right, so we'll turn that off. Now we'll put a bit of charge into the unit, which will be this top one here. That's the input. Right, so this will take a little while to get going. It ramps up slowly. Right, so it seems to have settled on 1,849-ish going in to the unit. And the battery is now 35% charged, and in 57 minutes this unit will be fully charged. So I'll turn this off. Right, so I've flicked it over to slow charge or custom, and I'm just about to turn it on. So it's going up now. Right, so that's settled down at 383 watts going in. So 4 hours and 4 hours to charge. So we're on 37%. Right, so using my phone, which you can see changing up there. AC charge speed. Oh, there we go. Yep. Right, so we're on 400. You can see that there. So let's go to, let's go down. Let's go to 200. Confirm. So that'll drop this one down to 200. Also, the cooling fan's now just gone off. So it's settled at 189, 188. Alright, so we'll move on. I think we've sort of covered what's on the screen. Right. So this is the USB panel, and these are all output ports. So you're going to run something from it, or you're going to charge your phone, etc. Things like that. So we've got two USB-A ports, and they're 12 watts apiece. We've got two fast charge USB-A ports, and we've got two USB-C ports, which are actually 100 watts apiece. Now to turn this panel on, it's one touch of that, and the light comes on here, and all these are live now. So if you plug something in, it's going to charge or whatever. We're on the opposite end of the unit now, and under this cover we have our input charging ports. And the first one is solar, and it's also where you would plug in if you're charging from the car. Now it supports 12 volt and 24 volt car chargers, and has a default charging current of 8 amps. So it'd pay to have your car running when you've got this plugged in, or you'll end up with a flat battery. Now we'll jump to the other end. This is the overload protection switch, and in the middle is the extreme AC charging input port. So that's where I'm plugging in to charge it from the house. Now you've got a switch here, and up the top is fast. So when the switch is up at fast, you'll get the maximum charge you can get. It says in the manual, use the Eco AC charging cable for fast charge. The AC charging cable should be directly plugged into a 15 amp or above wall outlet. When it's on slow or custom, this can be set at your custom speed, but it's set at 400 watts by default. So you can adjust it on the Eco app, which we just did. We had to play with that a minute ago. So this is the DC output panel. And we have a 12 volt car outlet, and we've got two DC 5521 output ports. Right. Now we've got 4 AC output ports, and they're pure sine wave, 2400 watts total, and you've got a surge of 4600 watts. Now there is an X boost in this, which we can drag 3000 watts, so it can get as high as that. That's by default, that's turned on, and it's automatic. So that's the unit. On the sides you've got your ventilation, and on this side same. So let's have a play. Alright, let's talk about the solar panel. What's in the box? You get a user manual and a warranty card. You get EcoFlow's 220 watt bifacial solar panel, and that comes in this protective case. Now this case also becomes the kickstand to support the solar panel when it's being used. And in the box you get 4 snap hooks, and they secure the solar panel to the kickstand. So we'll settle that up now. The quality of this protective case I'm quite impressed with. stiff. So here's our solar panel. And the rear, it's almost the same, looks the same. Now, this is the front. You've got to have the front facing the sun. How do you know it's the front? The junction box. The junction box for the power is at the front. Plus, just here, it says face this side towards the sun. So that's the front. It's a very stable unit. We'll get our 4 clips ready. So we get our 4 snap hooks. So these are the straps. The snap hooks will be going on. We've got 2 more at the top. Now I'm going to put them into this first. And I'll clip the bottom snap hooks into these 2 eyelets. Now the Delta Max 2000 can have more than 1 solar panel running into it. It can have up to 800 watts of solar power running into the unit at any one time. So that's on quite an angle. Now if we want to adjust that angle, we can drag the bottom forward and do the zip up a bit. So we can do the zip up to there. Zip up on the other side. So now it's settled on that angle. If we want to go up a little bit more, we'll say about there. Well, that's not how I set up the kickstand late yesterday when I saw a break in the clouds and we got a bit of sun after days of rain and clouds. I went out to test the panel in the short time we had sun. As with a square. So we've got a slight shadow on this side. So the sun's slightly that way, so if we went around just a touch more, drag that back around. Now we're straight up and down that way, pretty square there, that's close enough. If the sun was higher, we'd have a longer shadow there. So. And out here would be the same, but you can see this angle, which is 90 degrees to this, is pointing pretty well straight at the sun. We're now getting 220 watts from our 220 watt solar panel, which is pretty cool actually when you think about it. Now, people that tell you that a branch or something over your solar panel doesn't make much difference. So we're on 193 watts. If I put my arm across, it drops to 148 now. There, I'll take it off. We've also got some problems with the sun. It's quite cloudy. Alright, so what we're going to do now is test this unit. see what I can do with it. So you can see up the side here, I've charged it to 100%. Now, I've seen people test these things with fridges and sort of different things like that. I want to test it with power tools because that's my whole idea. I can have this in the truck and I can do different things without running leads or generators. So anyway, and I believe the start current on these things is quite high, especially when we get to test this fella, because that gets quite a grab when you first start it off. It's not a slow start. So let's get into it, should be fun. Right, what we're going to do first is cut this. It's 1/2 inch rebar. It's small, but we'll work our way up and see what happens. Right, going to use a 125mm angle grinder, and this one here is 720 watts, or rated at 720 watts. So we'll see what it comes out at. Right, this is the no load run. Do 4 cuts. That was a bit too easy. This one's 16mm rebar. I've got a bit of quarter plate, so let's have a play with that. So it's 6mm thick. I'll do a short run first. I think it needs a bit of a longer run, so we'll see what happens. Not putting much of a hole in it, are we? No. This one's 670 watts. So I've got a flat disc on it. So we'll just round this over. Wasn't very exciting, was it? Right, so I've just ran it over a little bit, nothing flash, but that's 6mm plate. Got to get the big boy out, and we'll do a cut down here and see what that does. So this is a 9-inch angle grinder, and it's rated at 2,200 watts. So this should give it a bit of a test. This is the no load run. 99% left in the battery. Rightio, I gotta get something bigger. We gotta cut big stuff. Got a couple of bits of railway track. That'll test it out. Now, instead of just cutting through it for nothing, I'm gonna make 2 bookends for a bookshelf. Right, I completed the 2 bookends, and all the grinding, all the cutting, all the sanding, all came from this battery as it stands now. I didn't recharge it, so we've cut the rebar and the 6mm plate prior to doing this, and at the end of the bookends we had 51% left in the battery, which is pretty impressive when you think about it. Right, this is my thoughts on EcoFlow's Delta Max 2000. I wanted a backup power supply, and it does it well. This will run my fridge and other essentials if the power grid goes down, and also be great when we're camping. The thing that impressed me most is in an emergency situation, I can run my power tools directly from the unit to do what needs to be done at the time. And that's a huge plus for me. The solar panel. The solar panel did a pretty good job. We've had nothing but clouds and rain for like a week, and I've still got some pretty good readings on it. I did manage to get one into the video where the clouds are going over and there's a small hole in the cloud, and the solar panel got as high as 258 watts, which is pretty good. And talking about that, EcoFlow's app. For people like me that love to know what's going on with the battery, what's going in, what's going out, and even now, we can adjust things using the app. This is awesome. I have nothing negative to say about the Delta 2000 at all. It does everything I expected and more. I hope this video has helped you in some way. If you want more information, or you're thinking of buying it, or even just getting a price, there's a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. There's more to come. Thank you.